Wish me luck. Welcome to Talk to Me. I'm your host, Brenda, the Soulutionist. I see things other people often miss. And today, we're talking about in the storm because, baby, I've been in the storm today, but this too shall pass. And I am learning to dance in the rain. And I need to learn to dance in the rain today. So I'm going to bring up my friend, my mentor, Lisa Ducharme, the 15-minute results coach. Because on Face It Friday, what do? We face the fact that Brenda got issues.
Those are not the things that we face on Friday.
And when I have issues, it is nice to get a little help from my friends that help me to learn how to dance in the rain, even in the storm. And Lisa, I got this really cool storm picture that I found, and I thought that I would do something that I know you love and let you talk about one of your favorite quotes, which is thunder is good, thunder is impressive, but it is lightning that does the work. Mark Twain. Okay, you got to help a sister out, Lisa, because that sounds really good and very impressive, but what does it mean?
It's actually one of my favorite quotes. And really what it does is it emphasizes the importance of action rather than just talk or grandstanding. So it kind of is supposed to remind us that while there's a lot of noise and showmanship, what really gets us the attention is the substance and the execution that ultimately achieves the results. So that lightning bolt that's coming down, you don't hear it. You always hear the thunder. We never hear the lightning. The lightning is the substance and the execution that actually gets the results.
Okay. And I still got that up there because I'm still trying to figure out how to push the buttons to get back to where I was. But that goes to my next slide, Lisa, because I am lost, disoriented, complex, and confused on this rainy day here in North Carolina because I just have had one of them days filled with drama and kaflama. But I thought, while I'm thinking about that, there's a few things that I'd like to consider while we talk about how you're going to be able to dance in the midst of the rain and in the storm, or dance in the storm. What is it? Dance in the rain? I'll get it right in a minute, Lisa. Help a sister out because I'm telling you today I'm gonna need a lot of help. The brain is just not functioning like it normally does. So anybody listening,
we are dancing in the rain. That's exactly what we're doing.
Really, because today was supposed to be one of those days that we got to talk about one of our favorite subjects, which is business startups. And I had this grand plan for helping people do a self-assessment, which we will do next week. But what happened was I got up this morning, the storm was raging in the front, in the back, and the power was going in and out. So because I did not prepare and I waited to the last minute, I did not have the show that I planned to produce today. But as always, Lisa is semper gumby, which means always flexible. And she said, we'll just talk about what we want to talk about. So I thought about, why not talk about what happens when you're in a storm and things just are not working out the way you planned them. And Lisa, today was not a day I planned. So what should I have considered?
It's one of those really great things. And really what you generally want to consider is, okay, I've got this storm. What am I going to do to make a good day? Because it's not rainy days and Mondays always bring you down like the song says. It can actually uplift you if you look at it in a positive light, because that's the time where we can sit back and self-reflect. A lot of times we are so busy, and I know for a fact that you are too busy sometimes to sit back, self-reflect, and do things that you would not normally do.
And that brings us to one of the flyers I did get to complete, was called Enjoy the Little Things. I just think that when we can appreciate and enjoy the little things, like reading a book or having a nice warm cup of tea or coffee, hanging out with your friends and family. Because when the storm comes and the power goes out, it's like, what do you do? Well, luckily I have, because we're in hurricane season, so I have all kind of flashlights and lanterns all throughout my house. So I was still able to read I was able to get a little workout in. There were some things I was able to do, even though the storm was raging on around me. And I got a little flustered at first, which is why I think it's really important that I thought about the mindfulness part of this day. I needed to be present and aware of my thoughts and feelings that were going on when I realized I couldn't do what I had planned. And I really struggled with that a little bit until I called you and said, "Hey, Lisa, I'm having some stress about that," which is good. Why you can have friends you can reach out to and say it's really not that critical. Life and death is not hanging in the balance of us not having a YouTube show.
You know, that is so true. That is one of the most important things is everything we do, if we take the time to appreciate the little things, it makes a big difference. If you look at your desk right now,
Oh, don't do it.
if you look at your desk right now, how many things on your desk could you rearrange to make it feel a little bit better, to make it feel not as cluttered? And I will tell you, so I have this little ornament that I use just to put in my hands to keep me calm. I had actually lost it for a little while, but
Mm-hmm.
like you had a storm, we had a storm as well. So I turned my computer off and shut everything down,
Mm-hmm.
and I started cleaning my desk. And when I found my little ornament, and I know I'm not supposed to be using it to rub my hands, but you know, it's that sensory thing. So I do
Right,
like it.
right, right.
You know, so now it's going to be in a place where I can find it.
Well, that's important because if you have something that helps you to reduce your stress or to keep you calm or reduce your anxiety, that is a good thing to have around. And maybe I need to maybe I could just use my ink pen for now until I get something that's as nice as what you have. But I would have never thought about that because I do know we have those widgets, and I did have a little stress man, which is somewhere in the never ending pile that I used to just like kind of hold. Or my purple guy, who I haven't seen in a month of Sundays. He's somewhere around in the never ending pile, but I'm looking forward to locating him again. But when you have all of that stuff going on, the mind, body, and soul connection is so important to be in the present, slow things down, and not get overwhelmed just because things didn't kind of go the way you had planned them to go. I was really excited this morning, even through the storm, when I took the time to think for a minute and I did a YouTube and or what you call social media posts about finding the peace in the midst of the storm, because I really was peaceful at first, and then I thought about all the things that I wasn't going to be able to do because the power was out, and I got a little bit stressed because I had taken a break off of social media, and this was supposed to be me coming back, getting into the rhythm of things again, and then up pops the storm. So, what advice do you give to your clients, Lisa, when they have plans, but all of a sudden everything just blows up?
You know what? That's a perfect time to stop. And most people freak out when I say stop. Write down the things that you planned on getting done that day and then push it to the side. Come up with a whole new plan. And
Mm-hmm.
I know from a mindfulness perspective, that's like the worst answer you can give somebody because mindfulness is supposed to keep you calm, keep you in the present, keep you in the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But if the day is going to go bad, and and by the way, when you adjust your schedule, even if you're taking something out and moving it somewhere else, there are a lot of people that will kill their entire day.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you take the entire day and reschedule it and do something else, that actually can be very calming. Plus, it also makes you think about other things. So we knew that there was going to be a storm all day
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to come in and out. And your bigger concern was that we're going to lose power. And if we
Mm-hmm.
lose power, that's okay. Um, but one of the things is you have to accept that it's going to be okay. Just readjust. And I know that that can be hard. If you've got 12 appointments scheduled on your calendar, which by the way is a bad thing, nobody should ever have 12 appointments scheduled on their calendar. I don't care if they're 15 minutes appointments, you should never have 12 scheduled. But if you have a lot of things scheduled and you can't meet them because you've lost the power, etc., you have to readjust. work ends, whatever the case is, just readjust and enjoy your day. It When you stop, pivot, and change, and you do a new schedule for your day, it is not as painful as most people think.
That brings me to my next slide, which is keep your head up. When you're faced with difficult situations, getting overwhelmed and losing perspective is easy. So, one of the things that we often talk about is regardless of what's going on around you, keep your head up because the reality, this too shall pass. And even as we speak right now, we were planning on talking about the self assessment for starting your own business. And I really didn't want to go ahead with that one because, in the event the power shut off, I didn't want to lose the importance of that particular talk, which is why switching to have this talk about what do you do in the midst of the storm was really important to me because I felt like if we got cut off in the midst of this, there wasn't as critical as when we're trying to teach a lesson to help people level up to the next level when they are in the ideation phase of their businesses. We have a lot of things going on with our book anthology, with the EBV, which is the
Entrepreneur Boot Camp for Veterans.
thank you. You saw me lose it there, didn't you? With all of that going on, we want to make sure that when we're offering those types of teachings that we have a clear platform. And here's the funny part: as I even say this, I realize that next week we could have perfect weather and we could still lose power because sometimes things just happen. And it's in those moments where you have to be able to overcome and adapt. And that's one of the things I love about my military experience because those kind of things happen so often when we were in the military that we became accustomed to pivoting and making changes, which is something that I know you discuss very in great detail in the book that you did, From Duty to Destiny. And I did put the link in the description for anyone that wants to go out and get Lisa's book. She is available at amazon.com/author/ Lisa Ducharme. The spelling of her name is right below her face on the screen here. Make sure you go and check out. She's written many volumes of uh, journals and her several books. We've co-authored books. So go and check out and see what Lisa's doing. Lisa, what is your thoughts about when we have to get to a situation where we're overcoming and adapting, or in this case, like what it seems to have happened to me this week? This has been a very rough week for me mentally, as you know, as I have been in a flare up. And I felt like I've been constantly having to overcome and adapt. What's it like for you on the other side, being my friend, when I'm constantly like in flux? Because I don't think we often talk about the support people around you that have to weather your storm when you're going through it.
I don't actually see it for you and I because I think we have such a good friendship that it's never anything I notice. I mean, because we talk, we get through, and we actually take care of business. So even when you're in a flare up, even when you're adjusting, the worst you do is just cut it down a little bit. I still get everything that I need out of our conversations and out of the different projects that we're working on. You still, even when you have your flare ups or you have to adjust, it's such a minor adjustment that it's not something I notice. Other people may, but I think my personality type, because I always adapt and I always adjust, it's not something that I've even noticed. But I do agree that our military experience gives us so many wonderful lessons that we learn throughout our time in the military, that even those who are, I think probably my favorite story is the Tootsie Roll story, which I'm not going to tell you, but you can Google it, Tootsie Roll story, and then Korean War. But I love it because it shows how people in the midst of emergency adapt. They change, they pivot, they think outside the box, and they go on. Because if you don't go on, then stopping gets you nowhere. And you never want to be nowhere.
And Lisa, actually, I think that is a very good story for the next slide. And it's about enjoying the little moments, even during the storm, because the Tootsie Roll story, for people that don't know, is a really cool one for us military folks. And if you don't mind telling us, Lisa, we do have the time today. Please Tell people why that's so significant, because that is definitely a little thing in the midst of a very big storm.
So during the Korean War, and by the way, there are very few Korean War stories that are really out there and stand out. So during the Korean War, so Tootsie Rolls were very popular during that time frame. And one of the units was called Tootsie Rolls. That was their call sign, was Tootsie Rolls. They were in a battle. All of their equipment had broken down and they had to fix it. So they ordered supplies. And somehow in the communications, they were getting their boxes dropped, and there were 3 boxes dropped. All 3 boxes were filled with Tootsie Rolls. The captain who was in charge of the unit, he took it with a grain of salt. He opened up the box, saw the Tootsie Rolls, and instead of kicking and screaming and having a fit, he eats a Tootsie Roll. And then he says, give it to the people. Because that was a lot more nutritious than what the things they could carry, and they were small.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually ended up, as he was eating it, he realized when he took it out of his mouth, it froze solid. And they used it to fix the vehicles to get them out of harm's way. And that is a true story. And that captain, although not necessarily for the Tootsie Roll incident, but that actual captain received the Congressional Medal of Honor.
That's pretty cool. And that's a great example of overcoming and adapting, or using something that is not traditionally used for a thing for something else, just because you have a aha moment. And there's a lot of times you have aha moments when you're in the military or in your civilian life. And that leads me to our next slide for today, which is comfort zone. You got to come out of your comfort zone in order to reach your success zone. If you stay in the comfort zone, you never move past where you are. And I think that one of the things that a lot of us do, I know myself, I gotten used to things being a certain way. I'm used to, I do my show prep on Thursdays, I load it up on Fridays, and then I do, but I didn't do what I normally do. And then when things didn't go just as planned, I was totally out of my comfort zone. But even with that, I still was able to come up with some slides to use for today, to break things up as we talk about in the storm, learning to dance in the rain. And I think that as we're talking and I'm beginning to relax more, I'm realizing that the power is going to stay on, even though it is raining all around us, and we're going to make it to the end. But here's the thing, Lisa. Even if we did not make it to the end, guess what? Life would still go on, with or without the Face It Friday, Get It to the End, in the storm, learning to dance in the rain show, being out there for everyone to see.
No, that is so true. And I can't tell you how important it is to get out of your comfort zone. One of the things when I was growing up, my mother was very rigid. She did not like change at all. So how I ended up being the one that loves change in my family is completely beyond me. I mean, I'm the exact opposite of everybody else because I like constant change. Constant change makes you think outside the box. It makes you step outside your comfort zone. And I think one of the advantages of being a military brat and moving every 3 years throughout my life really helped me get comfortable out of the comfort zone, out of the little box, because none of us belong in a box. We all belong in all different sizes and shapes, and just bust it open, because that's exactly what it is. And I find that when I am outside my comfort zone, don't get me wrong, sometimes I stress when I'm outside my comfort zone. It's not always perfect, but it is always the advantage that I can see things differently, because when you're outside your comfort zone, you are looking at things through a different lens. And I think that's critically important in business and in life, that we always change our lenses.
I still have somewhere in this little marketing thing, I have a little thing about getting out the box. Here it is somewhere. Here it is. Making this shift to get outside of the box so we can do things a little bit different. I love that little overlay. I had fun creating that one. And it's those things that will make you look at things a little bit differently. Because, like today, having the thought about, oh, what am I going to do? I haven't been consistent for a week or so, and this is really me getting back into the routine of being consistent and then getting flustered. But it goes back to why I took a break from social media in the first place, the overwhelm, the thought of, oh, I gotta do this. But if I think about how I've set my business up, Lisa, on this Face It Friday, I'm facing the fact that I'm saying I'm learning to do business my way, which means I get to do it in my own time. And as long as it aligns with my core values, and I am putting out a message that is something that I can be proud of, I shouldn't worry about the delays, or maybe that sometimes it may not go off without a hitch.
I actually think it's great. I read an article a couple years back and I actually commented on it because I was offended that somebody had written an article that if you have a plan B, C, and D, the problem is that means that you're not prepared. You should only have one plan because that's all you need. I grew up in a world where that is not. You try anything in the military, if you just have a plan A and something goes wrong, you're out the door. It is not even. It is not even a thought process. So I always think that that's important. I like the unpredictability, but I also like making sure that I do have a plan A, B, and C, because things do not always go well.
And that goes to our next slide. Look at that. A plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and having a contingency plan. And see what's great about this, Lisa, is Lisa never knows what slides I'm going to come up with. So the fact that when we're talking tells you that we're in sync with each other to know what we need to have ready for the next talk. Because I've been told I can plan a trip to the bathroom, Lisa, which it is true because I'm a total control freak. I own it. That is who I am. Hi, I'm Brenda. I'm a control freak. I have issues, which is why I do Face It Friday, so I can talk about the things that I have problems with. And those of you out there that may too be a closet or a visual control freak, you can feel better about yourself because you know you are not alone. But one of my favorite things is on Star Trek, Captain James T. Kirk, Kobayashi Maru. You know, it was supposed to be the escape that you can't escape from, but he circumvented the system and he escaped. So I love the fact that he always has a plan, even when there's supposedly no plan. But the best part about having a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and a contingency plan is that when the dust settles, Lisa, guess what shows up? The rainbow. I love this vision right here because I picture this as I'm sitting on the beach, I'm looking out, the storm has just passed, and look at that beautiful rainbow that's come up. And I feel like I'm in the rainbow because we're at a point in our talk today where we're about to wrap things up and the power is still on and we're still smiling and feeling good. It's just like we are dancing in the rain. What are your thoughts about the rainbows, Lisa?
I love it. In fact, that photo has a double rainbow, which makes it even more special. When they buried Queen Elizabeth, or they had her ceremony, I thought it was beautiful that there was a double rainbow. They have such special meaning that I think it's phenomenal. For me, it really is. It's all about, there's always a rainbow. Because after every rainstorm, there's a rainbow somewhere in the United States. There's somewhere in the world, actually, not just the United States. Somewhere in the world, there's a rainbow. And if you think about it, there's always somebody worse off than you. Somebody else's day was worse than yours today. That much is
Absolutely.
a guarantee.
Absolutely.
Although someday I'm probably going to be that very last person on that chain. But until then, there's always somebody who has it worse off than I do. So I'm okay with changing plans, and I'm okay with having a plan A, B, C. And I think one of the advantages of having a plan A, B, and C is that if I don't use plan B or C, I can set it to the side and use it for something else. I can always make sure that I bring it back up if I ever need it again. So it's always good to have a plan A, B, and C. And I think that I like thinking outside the box, and I like thinking what problems could occur. Because if I know what problems can occur, I can prepare for them. And for example, no electricity. Well, how do you
Mm,
prepare for no electricity? Well, that's when I don't use a PowerPoint presentation. I use a whiteboard.
right.
So there's a lot of different ways. But if you think in that type of capacity without being a control freak, because I'm not a control freak,
No, you're not.
um, but when you think in that capacity, one of the advantages is it's okay for all this change to happen and for you to just keep on going and accept it and move on.
And that brings us into tapping into how you can make it through the storm. The first thing I had to do this morning, Lisa, was simply change my mindset about what the lack of power and being in the midst of the storm meant to me. And then, of course, I announced to you, Lisa, I'm in a storm. What am I going to do? I can't do this. My computer's not working. I can't finish my layouts. I'm so depressed. And you gave me some accountability and slapped me around and said, Brenda, get your head out of your butt. It's just a presentation. Life is going. Do something else or don't do anything at all. So I was able to do that. So what did I do? I then prepared for an alternate show that I could complete in the time that was allotted us to come on here this afternoon and still do this show so that I can be consistent and post at 2:30 on Fridays. After that, I imagined how awesome it was going to be when you and I got to have a conversation about being in the storm and learning to dance in the rain while we laughed and joked about how silly it was that I got all crazy about not being able to do the business presentation that I wanted to do. And then I'm sitting here now, I'm nurturing the fact that there is the rainbow. And I am very happy that we had this alternative way of doing our show today. But I want you guys to come back next week and really check out because we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and the questions that you need to ask yourself if you're really seriously about entering the entrepreneur world. Because many of you have expressed an interest in becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business. But the common thread that Lisa and I see that many of you really haven't thought through the process. So I created a self-assessment that not only are we going to be discussing, but we're going to have a download for you so you can ask yourself 10 questions that we think will really help you on this journey. And there's going to be some instructions and some guides. I think it's going to be very beneficial. So pass the word that next week we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and the self-assessment that you need to take to make sure that you're really ready to take this journey. Because it's not an easy one, but it's one that can be very rewarding if you choose to take it. You want to have any comments about that, Lisa?
I think I love self-assessments, whether it's a business assessment, whether it's a self-assessment, whether it's combined. Even if you are already an entrepreneur and already in business, this assessment's going to help you because how many cracks do you have in your foundation? Things that you didn't think about. I can't tell you how many times there's a business who is doing really well and they don't even know what their why is. So the first time they come to a roadblock, their why, without knowing that why, it's going to be so easy to drop. So I think that it's going to be a really good assessment. Brenda's putting it together, and Brenda loves to think problem, 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 problem.
But I also have solution, 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 solution.
That is why you are the solutionist, is because you do. But that I think is one of the things that makes this assessment great because it's not coming from the perspective of a normal assessment that you can get anywhere. It's something that was created based on the experience that Brenda has had, actually, and then Brenda and I have had over the years, and all the different challenges that we've bounced off each other that different people bring to us. And sometimes I just have to say that person is not ready for a business. I know they want one. I know they've got the money for one, but without that why, even if you find it later, you still need that why. You still need certain things to be an entrepreneur and a business owner.
And one of the things I like to remind folks is that if you are interested in learning about how to make passive income or you want coaching on how you can have your business level up and go beyond the book in self-publishing, join me in convene communities. The link is in my link tree, and I'll be more than happy to help you go beyond the book and to have the business of your dreams so that you can do business your way. Thanks again, Lisa, for always being there to support me, even in my storm. And I want to thank those of you that were watching or will watch on the replay for listening. And we don't take lightly that you take the time to hear what we have to say. Stay tuned too, because we have some amazing things coming up in the next few months. We have some interviews for some veteran business owners for our business anthology. We have some Hey Lisas coming. That's where you get to ask Lisa questions. You send them in, and Lisa's going to ask your business question to make sure you can do business your way. Well, as always, we like to remind you the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. So choose wisely. Be blessed, everyone. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Brenda. Bye.